One of my fondest revelations, it's a little strong, insights maybe, of the last 6 months was as we're learning Mesilas Yesharim, and he'd focused so much on Olam Haba, etc., and I realized that I have to give myself and others a sense of why you want to get to Olam Haba. What was so obvious in the Mesilas Yesharim as the generations go, as we get in a certain way more mixed up in our time of light and darkness mixing together. There's so much light in our generation, so many people learning different styles, also so much Torah available of different styles. Excellent Svarim and Chassidus and Kabbalah and Drush and Halacha, Parshanut, Nach. I got a Nach recently, which earlier Doris didn't have such thing. Art scroll Gemaras, the Mesivta Gemaras. There was never such a thing. 100 people, maybe since Talmud Bavli, 100 people worked on every volume of the Mesivta, giving the Pshad and Rashi and Drush and Tosfos. Incredible. But against that, there's so much Bilbul Adeus. People don't know what's important, what's not. People identifying as cats on the very, very far extreme, but there's a lot. Anyway, so we don't always remember why we want to get to Olam Haba. Okay, so we're focusing on Olam Haba. And I know we're past that, but I saw something recently which was very impactful and powerful and beautiful. And I thought that's a theme we have to keep coming back to. That somehow we have to remember that Olam Haba is what it's all about. This world is a prose door. But not just that reality, that's just one which make us happy. Like getting to your birthday, your wedding, your grandchild's wedding, a concert you want to go to, a sports game you're excited to engage in. People look forward to things. Shuas, counting down the Shuas, the Spheres Omer, that's all what Sphere is about. So we're getting there to the next world. While we engage in this world in the proper way, of course. But how do we remind ourselves? So I want to share some words from Rabbi Miller. What does it mean, Mesivta de Rikia? Mesivta de Rikia, which is like Yeshiva Shamala, the Yeshiva of above, the Yeshiva they have upstairs, is portrayed in the Gemara like a real Yeshiva. Now, in a sense, in a sense, it's a mashal, it's a parable, right? So we have yeshivas down here, and we have yeshivas upstairs. What's the purpose of yeshiva? To gain chachmas haTorah. That's the purpose. In the yeshiva, you don't manufacture boxes, you don't manufacture shoes. It's for the purpose of learning chachma. That's why one goes to yeshiva or seminary. Let's add. Now, in the world to come, there's one happiness. Seeing the Ziv HaShechina, the ray of the Shechina. And that's Chachma, realizing the truth of the world. It's a tremendous wisdom. It comes through our eyes. Such a happiness to see the emes of the Bria, to see what's going on in the Bria. What it was this world that we were part of. What was the wisdom here? The platypus. We see Hashem, never that's Mesivta de Rikia. That's the Chachma. That's why it's Mesivta de Rikia. The Ziv HaShechina creates a place of learning. So you sit there, Tzadikim Yoshvim, they sit in that Mesivta, and they look at the Shechina, and they gain wisdom from it. Tremendous wisdom. How long? Every second. It doesn't take a whole long drasha by the rabbi with a joke at the beginning and a parable at the end, and a few other jokes and stories and other distractions in the middle. Every second, tremendous wisdom every second. They learn the secrets of the Bria, the secrets of history, the secrets of nature. They learn, here's the point, all the pneumius of everything by looking at Hashem. Oh, that's what you did. Oh, that was the juxtaposition between the Holocaust and the State of Israel. Oh, that's why we bombed Iran. Oh, that's why I broke my leg. Oh, that's why, Lo Aleinu, he lost his mother. That's why he had such difficulty in Shidduchim. That's why things worked out for him so nicely. That's why he had so much parnasa. That's why the real estate went so well. That's why United States and Russia. Do you know who the United States' best friend was in the Civil War? Russia. Do you know that? The Russian alliance, I read that recently, I was shocked. The Russian alliance was a lot of what kept the North kept wanting to make sure that the South didn't come in, that England and France wouldn't recognize the Confederate States, right? That would have been, they were rebels, they were renegades, etc. And that did a lot of meaning to that. If European nations recognize the South, that changes the whole thing. That was what the Secretary of State of Seward, one of the great Americans at the time, some said the greatest American at the time was, of course, Lincoln, the great Lincoln, but he was maybe number two. And that's a lot of what he did. And a lot of the bulwark against that was Russia. Incredible. Here you have this vibrant, dynamic, new democracy, and then it was an ancient monarchy. We know that with the Tsars, they were Rishonim Atzumim, right? We know what they were doing to the Jews at that time. And later, Nikolai and all these Rishonim. Okay, but there was a bris. What was that about? Why did Kadosh Baruch Hu orchestrate that? Lesser level, you'll understand why. Vietnam, going back, Korban Bayis Rishon, Korban Bayis Sheni, we'll have such insight, we'll have such Havan in everything. And I mentioned the platypus before, but the Chacham and the Bria is incredible on the macro level, what's going on in the cosmos, the Shemayim, incredible. I read once that like galaxies cluster. We think about like a solar system. We get that. Even the solar system itself is incredible. We're so far away from Mars, so far away from Pluto, so far away from Mercury to Pluto. But that's small stuff. We get these like massive galaxies, and they're in touch with each other. They're moving with each other. And then you get to the micro level things, the quantum level things, which things are going berserk and crazy. So much chachma, so much wisdom and everything that's happening. It wasn't always like that. People thought things were status. We understood the molecule, that was it. Who said there's a molecule? There's a molecule. No, there's an atom, there's an electron, there's a proton, there's a Higgs boson particle. There's incredible. So wherever you turn, there's chacham and wisdom. So the Ziv Shechina, Rav Miller is saying, is that we look at Kadosh Baruch Hu and it gives us insight into everything, all those things we couldn't understand. We don't get all of it, believe me. All things in our life, all things in history, all things in nature. Of course, so however and that's a tremendous happiness. We'll have insight every second. However, there's another thing. There's such a thing as learning Gemara in Yeshiva Shamala. Those people acquire a taste, the geschmack of learning in this world. The world to come, they're going to get a real taste. Those who learn, those who are Zocha to understand Gemara, Rashi, it's so sweet. Incredible. And this is true, right? It's sweeter than the most delicious kind of cake. Yummy, yummy. Varevna. The most delicious thing in the world you can imagine, this we mentioned before, is learning Torah. Although we don't always feel in this world. But those who will try, they got a certain mesikas, a sweetness, certain pleasure in this world. And in Yeshiva Shmuel, they'll be in a separate group. They'll be learning Torah and enjoying together with Ziv Shechina together. So everybody gets Ziv Torah, everybody gets Ziv Shechina, and then the Lomdei Torah get a special thing. I want to emphasize, I don't know if he mentions this here, we'll see it again, that those who support Torah also get that. A wife who supports her husband's learning gets that. A person who supports yeshiva gets that. There's a known story, Reb Chaim Volozhin, that one of the big supporters of Volozhin passed away, and I believe that this is the exact story, that Reb Chaim Volozhin was having difficulty working on a certain sugya, and that person, who was a simple person and learning-wise, maybe he's a gvir, he might have been a wealthy person, but he certainly wasn't Reb Chaim Volozhin, but he was, I don't think he was a student of Volozhin. He was probably a businessman who was supporting the yeshiva. He came and told Reb Chaim Volozhin the pshat in the Mishnah or the Gemara that he was having trouble with. And Reb Chaim Volozhin said, we always knew this, but that it happens that fast. It was like that night. The insight came right away. So don't think that. I would add also, and not to be cholik on Rav Miller, but I think it's assuming from other things I've seen that those who try, even if you didn't reach, those who tempt, someone who tries to learn, and even if you didn't reach Mesikas, not everybody gets Mesikas HaTorah. Almost everybody gets some form of it. But even those who don't, but if you tried, of course the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you it. And if you supported Torah, of course Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to give it to you. And if you had it, of course you're going to have it. So that's the Yeshiva Shamala. If a person spends their life trying to understand the secrets of the Gemara, of the sugyas of the Gemara in the world to come, they'll do it again. Only this time will be with tremendous happiness, a sweetness. Hanechmadim mizahav umipazrav. Torah is nechmad, we say in Shabbos davening. Umsukim midvash, sweeter than sugar. Menofetzuvim, nothing as sweet as that. But even without that, the study of the greatness of Hashem, the Chachmas Hashem, that encompasses everything. And certainly, therefore, right, so it's all about wisdom and it's all about Geshmak. Every person, every human being loves perspective. You see someone is so depressed, someone's so having such a difficult time, and what brings them the Chama? A different perspective. Someone listens to them and shares them a different way of looking at their difficulty, suddenly they're happy. Hasaga makes happiness. Torah makes happiness. Chachma makes happiness. I'm reminded, well, this will end, that I was Zochah to be a Rebbe in the NCSY Summer Kola, quite a famous program today, and it was far few, maybe there were 250 students when I was there. I started when there were 48, and there were 86, and then 90, and then we passed 100. Eventually, I had to move on. But one of the things I was Zochah to help arrange was Rabbi Tzvi Finkel, the great Rosh Yeshivah of the Mir Yeshiva, one of the most beloved characters in Klal Yisrael. I think in his time was the most beloved person in Klal Yisrael. That'd be my guess, and respected. He had Parkinson's, yet he ran this and built up this amazing Torah metropolis of the Mir Yeshiva, which is going strong today. Baruch Hashem, Ken Yirbu. And we came to see him, 150 Talmidim that spent the summer learning, most of them from unorthodox homes. And he came in, and it was an electrifying moment. All the flashes were going. I think we had flashes then. I think they were going, almost like an electric moment. And then he started speaking. Here was this grand Rosh Yeshiva, all in black, long coat, frock, hat. And he said, when I was a boy, my Rebbe asked me, Nady, his name was also, he said, Nady, what did you think about this pshat? And I said it was a nice pshat. And my Rebbe said, Nady, it's sweet. It's so sweet. It's not just nice, it's so sweet. And that really moved the Talmud. It was one of the highlights of the summer. And you saw how this great Rosh Yeshiva knew how to, he himself, by the way, to those who don't know, Rabbi Tzvi was a Chicago boy. And I think he was even in a mixed school when he was younger, and he played basketball, etc. And then he became the Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir. But he right away, bonded with our Talmidim, and it was an amazing moment. But the point I'm bringing here is the fact that his Rebbe was emphasizing to him 70 years ago, the sweetness of Torah, the Geshmak of Torah, and that's what it's going to be, Bezrat Hashem. So again, I just thought I saw this recently, I thought I needed an extra pump. We need a pump, and I have to always remember that. Sometimes when you hear, it's Olam Haba, it sounds, what do you mean, I'm having such a good time in this world? You tell me I have to worry about the next world? That's only because we don't get it, right? A high school kid, you don't say to a kid, what do you mean, I'm having such a good time in school? You're telling me to think about vacation? I'm having such a good time just like watching football on the TV. You have to bother me with the fact that, a kid walks in, his father says, Sonny, I got you tickets to the Super Bowl. Dad, don't bother me right now. I'm in the middle of the Jets game. Sonny, I'm taking you to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl. Super Bowl. You, me, there. $1,500 tickets. We're flying there. It's a game now. Whole game is to get to that. No, Dad, don't bother me. No, that's only because you're missing it, right? We're all missing it. We shouldn't be looking at. Sometimes the idea of living for Olam Haba feels to us like a heavy coat in the middle of the summer that we're putting on ourselves. We're having such a good time in this world and doing mitzvahs also in this world. And you're worried about Olam Haba. What are you doing? It's the opposite, right? It's because we're missing it. We don't realize the reality of it, but we also don't realize the geshmak of it, the pleasure of it, the wonderfulness of it, the enjoyment. And Bezrat Hashem, when we keep hearing things like this and repeating them to ourselves, it'll make more and more reality for us of how wonderful that reality be, and we shall be zochah to be there together with all Klal Yisrael, with all the tzaddikim. Bezrat Hashem.